specific to our state. They have rulemaking authority and the ability to do everything that the EPA can do, yet the EPA comes in and crushes them. In my opinion, the EPA is one of the biggest threats to our sovereignty in this state because they continue to fight against oil drilling. They continue to fight against opening up our land to development of natural resources. They continue to fight prosperity in our state. The DEQ can do everything the EPA can, but it's localized. And I believe that the EPA is one of those duplicative departments, one of those redundant departments at the federal level that we could do away with. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Okay? I would begin to move away and eventually eliminate Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They built this housing bubble that crashed and collapsed. Now, it wasn't all their fault. You had regulation like Dodd-Frank that built upon the idea that we were going to allow people who could not afford homes to buy homes and overextend themselves. So they built this big bubble and it burst. And we are feeling the results of that now. And what are they doing now? They're rebuilding the bubble. They're not changing the way they have done business. We've got to eliminate them and start moving in that direction. If you were to do those things, you're freeing up hundreds of billions of dollars every year. Still not enough. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of entitlements. Okay? It is time that we as society, I've been from one end of this district to the other, talking to people of all age groups. And I say, do you want to have an honest discussion on entitlements? And everyone says, yeah, I do. Because they know we have to. We have to. So here's my take on entitlements. I'll try to be brief, but I want to give you some insight. Let's put Social Security over here by itself. And put the other two, Medicaid and Medicare, over here. First of all, Social Security, I don't know how it was sold to you. I'll tell you how it was sold to me. When I was 12 years old, I got my first job. I was a trap boy out at the Lee K Center. Trap boy is the little boy that pushes the button and shoots the clay pigeon out. They told me, Social Security, we are going to take a certain amount of money out of your check and we're going to put it into a trust account. Put it off to the side here. When you get time to retire, it'll be there waiting for you to help supplement your retirement. Does that sound vaguely familiar to what you were told? Something along those lines? Yeah. It was a lie. Of course it was a lie. They've robbed the Social Security trust account. It's empty. Actually, it's not empty. It's full of T-bills, T-bonds, and debt. Just IOUs. Okay? Here's what I do with Social Security. First of all, I don't know anyone who doesn't believe that if you're in the system, you should maintain, and the government should maintain its promise to you. That's the right thing to do. It's the morally right thing to do. They shouldn't pull the plug. But we've got to start looking at what we're going to do for the future. Are we going to increase the age before you can get Social Security? That's a possibility. What I propose is, if you remember when Herman Cain was still in the presidential race, he was talking a lot about the Chilean model for Social Security. I really like his idea. It was the one idea of Herman Cain's that I really bought into and thought it's a good idea. It pushes Social Security down to the state level. In many cases, it personalizes Social Security so that you have more control. You have a lot more transparency and you know where your money's going. You have more control of your money. It's in your hands. It's more in your hands. I would do that. I would start putting Social Security down to the state level. I believe that state sovereignty is the answer to a lot of these things. Let's go to Medicaid and Medicare. In the 1960s, when Medicaid and Medicare came into existence, let's talk about Medicaid for example. Since 1965, when Medicaid came into existence and the federal government started taking care of the needy, Medicaid's the safety net programs, Medicare is for the elderly. Since those two programs have come into existence and the federal government has started to subsidize health care, the cost of health care has skyrocketed. It's gone through the roof. The cost of a one-night hospital stay has gone up between 6,000 and 7,000%. Check the numbers. That's stunning. That's stunning. And here's why. A series of things. There's a lot of things, but let me give you a couple of reasons. Number one, prior to Medicaid coming into existence, who did the charitable care? Were people dying in the streets? No, they were not. They were treated at charitable institutions. Look at, you've researched this. You ever wondered why hospitals have funny names like St. Mark's, St. Jude's, Holy Cross, LDS, Primary Children's? Because these hospitals were owned by churches and church organizations. They did almost all the charity care. They also did pay for service. If you could go and you could pay, you paid. And then they did charity service as well. As soon as Medicaid took over, those churches sold their hospitals off. Government wasn't expecting that. And people flooded into the Medicaid rolls and they panicked. And they started reducing how much the reimbursement they gave to the doctors. They started increasing costs. And finally, people started seeing dollar signs in their eyes and saying, hey, if we could cover Medicaid patients, we can make a lot of money. And so they can start charging $28 for a package of diapers. $28 for a package of diapers, and it will be paid because it's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. You have got to get the federal government out of the health care system.
You can go to Walmart and buy that same package for $5.
That's right. That's exactly right. I would push Medicaid down to the states. We run it already. I mean, what happens is they give the states the money and we run it at the state level. Okay? So Paul Ryan has the idea of doing block grants from the federal government to the state to run Medicaid. He's half right. I would say, okay, if you can calculate how much you're going to block grant to the states, you can calculate that for all 50 states, then it's just as easy for you to calculate how much you could cut the federal income tax, let the states collect the tax, and run the program. Instead of federal government taking $1, spending $1.10 to return us 90 cents, let's just short-circuit it and let the states run the program, and then let's finally move back to a system of privatization charity. Let the states run it, and let's see if we can get back to a system where there is more charity care, real charity care. Let's see if we can do that. I believe if we were to do that, if we were to start moving Social Security to the states, Medicaid, Medicare to the states, privatization in some areas, you could get control of the budget. Now let's talk about growing the budget. Very simple. Energy policy in this country has got to change. If you want to grow out of this economy, we have got to develop our natural resources. We are one of the most natural resource-rich countries on the face of the earth. It's estimated, these are not my estimations, I've sat in meetings up at Capitol Hill time and time again, where geologists and experts have come and told us that in the Four Corners area of the United States, down here in Utah, Four Corners, that there is it's estimated that there is as much oil in that area as there is in the entire Middle East. Okay, that's stunning. Every time I hear someone say it, it boggles my mind. I can't believe such density of natural resources. But oil shale, tar sands, that's right.
But also from oil.
And oil itself. We have been blessed with abundant resources in this country, yet we're the only world superpower who refuses to develop its own resources. It's time that stopped. If we were to start developing our resources, we as a nation could increase. Imagine the jobs that would be created. Imagine the money that would flood into the market. Imagine the money that the federal government would benefit from freeing up the energy market. So not only have we cut the budget by getting the federal government a little more within its proper role, but also increasing prosperity. That's how you get this country turned around. That is a plan. That is a jobs plan. That is what I want to work on. So, sir.
Hey Carl, I'm sorry, we got to be out and chair stack in about 5 minutes.
Oh, you're right. It's not 5 o'clock. Oh my goodness.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, guys. Can I take his question since I asked one, please?
Foreign policy. Lots of issues going on in the world, changing government in Egypt and Libya, conflict now in Syria, issues with Pakistan, Iran, North Korea, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
As a member of Congress, how would you suggest that the United States either be involved or not involved with those issues?
Very good, very good. I am typically foreign policy, being from a military family. I support a strong national defense and a strong military. And I would not hesitate to use it to defend our nation and to defend our sovereignty. But I'm fairly non-interventionist when it comes to getting involved in every little skirmish that's happening around the world. There are tragedies occurring. There's tragedies occurring in Libya. There's tragedies occurring in Zimbabwe, Sudan. I have to ask myself this question. I have one brother who's passed away now, but I have 2 brothers who are still career military. I have to ask this question when I'm in Congress. Is this cause worth me voting to potentially send my brothers to die? And if it's not, then I can't support it. It's a very serious thing. War is a serious thing. It's the worst of things. And it's so sanitized to us watching it on the news, but it's terrible. And I think coming from military, not military, but law enforcement background and seeing the dregs of society and seeing violence like you can't imagine, I look at things a little bit differently. But I believe, typically a foreign policy, we should bring some of our troops home from some of the bases that don't provide any kind of tactical benefit for us. Bring them home. That we should not be interventionists in a lot of stuff. If there's a threat to our country, if there's a threat to our sovereignty, absolutely. We fight and we fight to win. Absolutely. Other than that, I'm not real anxious to put our boys and our men and women in harm's way and have them go die. So that's kind of a broad spectrum, but I hope that answered it for you.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
It might make sense it's a nice day out. It might make sense to just go gather out in the front steps and let everybody have the chance to ask you questions.
I tell you, we're going to go do that. But let me say this: we're going to go out here. We'll just hang around on the grass. Anyone that has more questions, and your question, I'm happy to stick around for a few more minutes. Let me end, because some of you may leave. Let me end with this. You have a tough decision as delegates. You have to decide who are you going to send to defeat Jim Matheson. First of all, I believe that's going to happen. Jim Matheson's losing this year. He's in a tougher district than he's ever been in his life. His old district that he represented was 57% Republican voter. This one is at least 60% Republican voter. Morgan Philpott would have almost beat him doing nothing else. Okay, but you have to look and decide: is this person running telling me what they're really going to do? Are they telling me the truth? And are they really going to do what they say they're going to do? That's the hardest decision you have to make. I'm asking you, don't take my word for it. Don't take any of the candidates' word for it. Please look at our record. You never have to guess where I'm going to be on an issue, because you can look at where I've been. When I tell you that I'm going to fight for a balanced budget amendment, you can look and say, I have fought for that here in the state of Utah. I ran legislation in 2010 to pass a spending cap here in the state of Utah. When I tell you I'm going to go repeal Obamacare, you can see that I've already been fighting it for the past 2 years. When I tell you that I am going to stand up for individual liberty, for the Second Amendment, for the right to life, you can look back at my record and say, geez, he's led on those issues. You never have to guess where I'm going to be, because you know where I have been. I ask for your support. I ask for your support at convention on April 21st. We are in a tough situation where we have to get 60% so that we do not spend our hundreds of thousands ripping fellow Republicans apart. I'm leading the race. We're ahead right now. And we are actually working very hard. I would ask for your support. Send me to take Jim Matheson on in the fall. And with your help and your support, with your blessing, we will start turning this nation around. So thank you very much. And we'll meet out on the grass for anyone that wants to ask any further questions.